One final race in the opening meeting of the season for the Euroformula Open Championship here at the Algarve for 2026. It's the second of our reverse grid races, and it is our race 2 winner, Alessandro Famularo, who'll be starting on reverse grid pole. This one taken from the results of qualifying, but nonetheless Famularo taking a hugely emotional maiden win in the championship this morning after a 2-year hiatus from racing due to budget, thinking his career was over, not by a long shot. He's got one more opportunity today to add to that tally as the cars make their way to the pre-grid on their reconnaissance laps. So it is a final 18-lap encounter of this circuit to close out the first weekend of the season. And so far we've seen victories from Rui Hengye from pole position, absolutely dominated yesterday's running. He added a second podium to his tally this morning with a third place finish. Diego Della Torre has made it 2 podiums in 2 encounters with a third and second place finish so far today. He goes from 5th position in this final race of the season. And then it was Alessandro Famularo after an incident for Divi Nandan at turn 1. He was going to inherit that win anyway because Divi Nandan had jumped the start and hence had picked up a 5-second time penalty. Chris Stevens and George Morgan here in the commentary box for one last time this weekend.
Absolutely. Welcome everybody back. Our 3rd race of the weekend, and we'll be putting the completed stamp on top of Portimao for this campaign in an 8-round calendar that of course takes us around to a strong majority of the Formula 1 Grand Prix circuits across Europe. And yes, it is Alessandro Famularo bidding to come back and win perhaps back-to-back race wins, starting from pole position ahead of Lorenzo Castillo. Jesse Carrasquedo as well, one to watch once more. Yet another poor getaway off the line. This time he's hoping he's going to have it corrected for this final run around the Algarve Strip. And also, aside from that, we've got Everett Stack down in 4th, who could also be one to watch. Diego Della Torre has been strong too. You never know, could be yet another visit to the podium for the Mexican driver, Rui Hengye, who has already taken a victory to open up the championship proceedings here. But the great thing about this is that we do have 1 win for Motorpark, 1 win for reigning drivers' champion team BVM. The Italian outfit now back with Famularo behind the wheel. Of course, we're yet to see much from Javier Herrera just yet. He will be starting from P10 ahead of the race and currently the 4th highest rookie driver in this grid classification. Lorenzo Castillo, though, highest placed rookie in this field, will be starting P2 on the grid in the number 10 car for this race. It's going to be a compelling run. Obviously, we'll see who gets the best jump of all and see whether some of the drivers have solved their complexity issues around the carbon clutch system. Of course, a very new system for some of the drivers that are entering this championship for the first time. There is Alessandro Famularo, the Venezuelan, who arrives back in. Question marks on his part as to whether he was even going to continue racing, but has now found his feet now in the Euroformula Open after joining us last campaign. There is Lorenzo Castillo, the Mexican for Team Motorpark. He'll be joining him on the front row.
Supported by Marcos Seber, the former GT Open and Euroformula Open racer. On the front row of the grid is Lorenzo Castillo, the first of the rookie drivers. So far it's Victor Dobransky who has won that class 2 times this weekend, and eyes forward for Jesse Carrasquedo. He has been moving forward an awful lot this weekend, but only after falling quite far back owing to his 2 difficult starts. He hasn't been making life very easy for himself.
That has been his kryptonite, really, all weekend so far. He's going to hope to try and correct that for this final venture, I'm sure. There is Diego Della Torre, stints on the podium, certainly improving from last year's run. Of course, remember, fastest in pre-season testing, coming into a new championship campaign. And Della Torre now looking for more. The 19-year-old graduate from South American and European F4 championships, and now in his 2nd season in the Euroformula.
Some final words there from Matthias Gruner, his race engineer. Previously worked with Levente Reves when he was competing in the Euroformula Open Championship. Of course, went on to go and win GT Open last year. Victor Dobransky, 2 class wins so far this weekend as the leading rookie. The 19-year-old from Krakow has had young Jan Koller, this man, in his mirrors for an awful lot of this morning's race. Jan Koller going from 8th on the grid for this one. So from 7th downwards, they are how they qualified yesterday morning. So that means Divi Nandan, our pole sitter from this morning, will be starting in 9th position and be trying not to jump the starts this time. That final drink there, you can see Matteo Tirananzi to screen right. Giuseppe Mizzotti getting the final photos in for Javier Herrera's car, which sits 10th on the grid. Behind him, only Aaron Ferrazzano from Neri Autosports. They completing their first weekend here in the Euroformula Open Championship. A fist bump, a shake of the hands there with Pablo Blanco and Jean-Bernard Bouvet. So we'll be getting ready to go shortly. That final race coming up. 18 laps to come, as we mentioned, or 30 minutes, whichever we hit first. And the car's getting ready. The shadow starting to loom from the grandstand as the sun gets a bit lower in the sky. So umbrellas all on the right-hand side of the grid. No such need for them if you're on the left-hand side of the grid. Unlike this morning, where it was umbrellas aplenty. But the grid's starting to be cleared now, with the final few mechanics just being left to discuss last-minute details with their drivers, keep the cars cool, keep them running. Let's look back on what's happened so far. It was Rui Hengye who qualified on pole position for race 1. Several drivers struggled to get off the line. We had 4 stranded on the grid. Thankfully, no significant incidents as a result of it. It was Rui Hengye who got the whole shot into the first corner. Jesse Carrasquillo, one of the drivers who struggled off the line, made up some places. Everett Stack and Diego Della Torre traded second place. Rui Hengye absolutely dominated proceedings to kick off the weekend from pole position and score maximum points on Saturday, taking his first victory in the championship. Race 2, and it was a jump start for Divi Nandan. He would pick up a 5-second time penalty for that one, but it was another poor start for Jesse Carrasquillo that meant he had to come up from the back of the grid once again. It was BVM 1 and 2 with Nandan and Famularo until this moment for Divi Nandan allowed Famularo to take the lead on the road. Diego Della Torre also making his way through. It all came undone for Nandan, with drivers starting to make their way through. Carrasquillo being one of them. Didn't quite manage to make it onto the podium, though. He ended up picking up a 5-second time penalty himself. An emotional first win, though, for Alessandro Famularo. Third and final race of the weekend, about to get underway in the Euroformula Open Championship. It's Alessandro Famularo, our race 2 winner, who lines up on pole position, on reverse grid pole, ahead of Lorenzo Castillo, the first of the rookies. Motorpark 1 and 2. Second row of the grid, Jesse Carrasquillo will be begging to get a good start this time. He lines up alongside Everett Stack. Then it comes Diego Della Torre and race 1 winner and pole sitter, Rui Hengye from 6th. Fourth row of the grid is Victor Dobransky, who's picked up 2 rookie wins so far this weekend. Jan Koller starts alongside him in 8th position. Then Divi Nandan for BVM Racing. And Javier Herrera, his teammate, lines up in 10th position. At the back of the grid is Aaron Ferrazzano for Neri Autosport. Grid is cleared. Formation lap about to get underway. And George, the big question is, can Famularo make it 2 in a row?
That is the big, bold question, and equally other drivers to consider. Obviously, we keep on questioning the Jesse Carrasquillo. If he gets that good start that he's yearning for, then that gives him a really good platform to potentially make it 3 different race winners across the weekend. Of course, we can't forget the driver on the front row as well, Lorenzo Castillo, with a great opportunity. Of course, fellow countryman of Carrasquillo as well, and chasing his first win of the season, obviously in his first year in the Euroformula Open. Of course, competed in Euro Cup 3 last year, as well as Spanish F4 then prior to that. Of course, racing in his home country in karts. This will be his 3rd season, incidentally, in single-seaters at the same time. And it's quite interesting how, you know, we get so much variety in terms of drivers and their backgrounds. Victor Dobransky, in fact, who's been really raising the stakes in the rookies class after taking back-to-back rookie trophy victories. He himself, his family have a strong rallying background in itself. So coming into single-seaters slightly separates himself from the, should we say, off-roading style of racing here on circuit. Certainly proven that he is a cut amongst the best of the rookie drivers that we're seeing so far this season, and they'll only grow heading through the campaign at the same time. Really excited to see what more could come from Neri Autosport. Aaron Ferrazzano has really represented them well. Obviously getting a couple of good starts over the weekend, getting mixed up inside the mid-pack and trying to at least yearn for yet further points. And of course, if they can get themselves into a competitive picture, you never know what they could achieve making their way through the season, the French team. And obviously with Ferrazzano coming across from Fontaine-l'Evêque, the 18-year-old, a multi-time Benelux and Dutch karting champion. Of course, finished second in Ultimate F3R Cup in his maiden season in single-seaters, so hoping that he can ferry that inwards. But Famularo, yes, at the front, very difficult to catch, and he proved that last time as well, of course, when Divi Nandan received that 5-second time penalty and then subsequently lost places as he made his way towards the latter echelons of the race. As soon as Famularo hit the front, he was very tricky to pass.
So coming up to the end of the formation lap, Famularo leading them round. Keep an eye on Jesse Carrasquillo. He's got the black wingtips and mirrors, but with the yellow halo strip. In third position on the grid. Definitely will be one to watch off the line. There he is, that number 27 car. He's had 2 poor starts, but has had the pace to come back through the field and challenge for the podium on both occasions. Final chance to get some temperature into the tyres. That shouldn't be too much of a problem. I was outside a few minutes ago, and it is jolly warm out there, I would say. So no issues getting the temperature in the Pirelli rubber. And the driver starting on the left-hand side of the grid will be grateful for that shade from the grandstand. And there is Famularo pulling into his grid position. And I'm sure some of those up at the front will have saved a set of tyres, although the new set not worth so much here because there are so many right-handers. You want to have new tyres on the left-hand side for every race anyway. It is up to team and driver discretion how they utilise their 16 tyres throughout the course of the weekend. Now let's see what happens over the course of the final 18 laps of racing here this weekend. The cars into position, the green flag now being waved at the back of the field. The start sequence begins, engine notes rise. We're racing for the final time, and Famularo did not look like he had a good start at all. It's Everett Stack who has stormed up from 4th on the grid to lead into turn 1. And Rui Hengye, it looks like, is the car that has moved up to 2nd place from 6th on the grid as well. So monster start from Everett Stack, and our race 1 winner side by side for 3rd position between Famularo and one of the other Motorpark cars. But everybody's safely through, so although not brilliant starts from everyone up at the front of the field, clean ones at the very least, and not ones that have caused major dramas. Diego Della Torre now on the inside of Famularo into turn 5. It's Jesse Carrasquillo who's come out in 3rd position as a result of that. Still Ferrazzano and Della Torre are side by side, and going into turn 7, it will be Famularo with the inside line, and he just about managed to hang on to that place, I think.
Well, it was the one bad start for Javier Herrera. He was the sole car left standing on the grid, despite obviously the slow getaway from Alessandro Famularo. He did get off the line regardless, but it forfeited the race lead to Everett Stack, who's now looking to apply his trade ahead of Rui Hengye at the moment, who's in 2nd. Jesse Carrasquillo, a better start this time, so that gives him a huge opportunity. Let's take a look at the starts again. Obviously, Javier Herrera, look at the bottom right. He stalled it right from the get-go. Great start from drivers elsewhere. Enzo, Rui Hengye getting a really good launch. Here's the view from Jan Koller.
That's a massive jump start from Victor Dobransky, I think that was. Massive jump start. So there'll be a penalty for that one.
Well done though from Stack, obviously to lead the way like he has done right at the very beginning now. A whole second ahead of Enzo, as now we see, yet more squabbling further down the order. Looks like Ferrazzano is looking to try and displace Divi Nandan over that 7th place. Of course, Nandan coming in after losing out on the race win earlier on. It was a 5-second time penalty. Then, of course, a little misstep of his own right coming through actually this portion of circuit, and it will be Ferrazzano moving up into 7th place. A strong start for Ferrazzano, actually, and he's had a consistent run of these through the course of the weekend. This has been typical from the Neri Autosport driver, and up the inside, looking to protect the place coming out of Toro Vip, and has made it happen. P7 now for Ferrazzano.
Nice stuff there from the Belgian. Just keep that place from Herrera going into turn 7. Yes, he does. So Dobransky there down in 9th position. So if it was him that jumped the start, it didn't really do him too many favours. To double check. Again, well, I'm sure it will be under investigation by the stewards. Ibai Sansero in charge of that one.
Carrasquillo showing his pace again to purple sectors 1 and 2 on this lap. So despite Everett Stack holding the fastest lap already so far, bear in mind we've already had 1 lap completed. We'll see the better laps now ferried in now. But Stack, incidentally, now starting to pull away from Rui Heng Ye. And I think for Ye, it's going to be Carrasquillo that becomes the thorn in his side more so than having to deal with Stack at the very front. You can just see the Mexican driver now getting closer and closer to the back of Rui Heng Ye, and obviously getting a good bout of slipstream at the same time. If you can get a little bit closer, that may yet ferry an advantage his way. Carrasquillo, who has taken part across various phases of the Formula 3 level, of course was featured in the Formula Regional European Championship by Alpine, as well as Euro Cup 3. And even prior to that, some really strong success in karts as well. Of course, even after that, then we'll look ahead to F4. He was in Danish, Italian, Spanish, NACAM, and of course the UAE F4 championships at the same time. Now within 4/10 still of Rui Heng Ye, and yeah, still holding on to that 2nd place spot. But Carrasquillo could very easily rummage among the best of them. Purple again, this time though, for Diego Della Torre, who's starting to find his feet, but it is a personal best for Carrasquillo inside the 1st sector. But it looks like Rui Heng Ye has managed to close the gap on Rui Heng Ye this time. Stack, incidentally, very slow inside the 1st sector.
2.5 seconds covers the top 5. Throw a blanket over those cars. They make their way up to the top of the hill in Portimao. Still very little separating them. Everett Stack, yes, he had the epic launch, making up 3 places. Rui Heng Ye making up 4 himself. And this is more the kind of performance we're expecting to see from Everett Stack throughout this weekend. He was not going to say a championship favourite, but we thought he'd be right up there as someone with a year of experience in this championship under his belt.
He improved through the year last year.
Absolutely, you could see the progression from when he was taking wins towards the end of the season last year, and now getting back up to speed, now leading the way here in race 3, but not by much at all, only 0.4 of a second, and it's definitely less than that by the time they get into the 1st corner as Rui Heng Ye soaks up the slipstream. It's that 1.3 seconds that covers the top 4, all of them from the Oschersleben-based motorpark team. Back up the top of the hill at turn 4, pulling away a little bit from Alessandro Famularo on that previous lap. The fastest driver last time around at that top 4 was Diego Della Torre, the back of this 4-car queue, and the slowest one was actually our race leader, Everett Stack. So despite being in clean air, the pace advantage is with those behind him.
Yeah, obviously personal best inside that 1st sector. It hasn't really been his friend, that 1st sector, as opposed to the others that follow it. But then, of course, the others do get the benefit of his slipstream as well, heading down through towards turn 1. So maybe that's the difference maker, probably is, as they now look to ferry their way downhill once more, then through to the next lap, which then sends them up to the very heavy braking zone, which then sees them turn to a left-hander before hitting Sagre corner, and then heading descending downhill through the Gulf Bend. And Rui Heng Ye, who, much like Carrasquillo, was featured in the Formula Regional European Championship by Alpine, joined RPM Motorsport last season. Of course, they're a former Euroformula Open championship team that have won teams titles back in 2014 and 2015. And later 17 and 18 as well. And as we now watch them bomb down through towards turn 1 again. 14 laps to go.
Yeah, there was a big swapper for Everett Stack coming through the penultimate corner, and that has put Rui Heng Ye right on his tail and in attacking distance going into the 1st corner. Wasn't quite able to do it around the outside, but that all started with that little swapper for Stack as he came out of turn 14 and into the Galp corner. Rui Heng Ye is not going to let this one lie. Less than a car length between them as they come onto the back straight towards the Toro Vip hairpin, and the Virginian has to go very defensive, but it's not defensive enough as Rui Heng Ye pounces on the inside and takes the lead on lap number 5. Now, is Stack going to lose more places here because Jesse Carrasquillo is in striking distance too. He's forced to the outside at turn 7. Oh, what a move there. Can Stack hang it out on the inside? This is very, very tight.
Oh.
And Carrasquillo ends up with some gravel on the left-hand side, but just about manages to keep Diego Della Torre at bay, or does he? They're side by side now, the two countrymen heading up towards the highest point on the circuit. Carrasquillo just hangs on to the place.
Yeah.
But that was Stack getting his elbows out.
Obviously lost a little bit of grip coming out of Samsung after dipping the left-handed tyres into the gravel trap. Never ideal, but nonetheless managed to keep Diego Della Torre, his fellow countryman, at bay. Everett Stack also doing well to defend the place. Here was the move again. Stack refusing to go down, and it was just a slip off the curb that then sent him slightly into that gravel trap, therefore getting those tyres really dirty on the left-hand side. Rui Hengye now in charge at the moment. 3.5 tenths to the good ahead of Stack so far. Carrasquillo, who's looking to recover a little bit more, will once again face the brunt of Diego Della Torre, this time wheel to wheel on the run down through towards the Primera. Big chance here for Della Torre, who's featured on the podium plentifully this weekend and runs wide to the outside the 44, but now ahead, or at least it's deemed to be, ahead of Carrasquillo here this time. One Mexican for another into P3, but Carrasquillo again looking to counteract it as now they go nose to tail, soon to venture down towards Toravip. Will there be another run on the brakes here for Carrasquillo in a bid to retaking that P3 spot? He goes very deep, but very shallow into Toravip and extends again in a bid to build up the pace. That is perhaps a little bit naughty.
Yeah, well, Diego started it really by going off at turn 1. I'd love it if someone could just keep it on the track for once. Confirmation, it was Victor Dobransky who did jump the start. He's picked up a 5-second time penalty for that one. So that's going to ruin his run of rookie class wins. But what a battle out here for the lead and for the podium places. Famolaro's not out of this one just yet, looking on the inside of Diego Della Torre.
Has meant, though, that Stack can now focus on what's in front of him next. Carrasquillo 1.6 behind after the skirmish both he and Della Torre had. So that gives Stack a chance to refocus his efforts on the lead battle. Of course, Rui Hengye chasing a second win this weekend, and what a way to do it here this would be too. Obviously, to come back with a win in race 3 after a successful outing in race 1. Comfortably walk ahead with the championship lead moving through to Belgium when we head to Spa-Francorchamps next time around at a circuit that every single-seater racing driver loves to visit. Of course, home of the Belgian Grand Prix. They now shoot through towards turn 1 this time around at the Primera. Lagos corner coming up later on, the heavy braking zone at turn 3, where, of course, we saw the issue for Divi Nandan costing him that race win on top of the penalty he also received as well. As they crawl up through towards the crest over at turn 4, there's the Czechia driver Jan Koller with Roman Stanek in his corner as a driver coach as well. And down into Toravip they go once more. 12 laps or so to go as they look to shoot their way now up through towards Samsung Bend. Soon to be turn 7, now in towards turn 8. And turn 9 at Craig Jones will send them uphill once more. Stack just clocking every move that makes right now, and that experience that Stack has harboured. He knows all about this car after his run in it last season. Has spent a lot of time in the garage with the team, stays very late with the engineers. Actually, one of the few out to the Motor Park Collective. Of course, many of them like to go and explore the location with the beaches and everything such as that, obviously once they've completed their day at the office. But Everett Stack, it would seem, loves to spend an extended amount of time with the race engineers and mechanics in the Motor Park garage.
That's how it should be. So coming up to the end of lap number 7 then, Rui Hengye still only leads by about half a second or just under from Everett Stack. So when they get across the line, it's just gone up to 0.6 of a second now. But despite the squabble a couple of laps ago, Jesse Carrasquillo is still right on the back of Stack now. So we're saying that Stack can focus on, in front of him. Well, he can't
Carrasquillo purple inside that last sector, which has really made a difference. In fact, he was 4/10 near enough quicker than Carrasquillo.
No, 7/10 quicker than Stack.
Well, over the lap, but in the last sector.
Yeah.
In that final sector, it's approximately 4/10 in itself.
And 6/10 quicker than the race leader. So, Carrasquillo once again showing he's got the raw pace out there. Probably the best lap times of anyone out
race
there.
trim,
in race spec. he just hasn't been able to use it at all.
Well, it's relatively surprising. I mean, you would have expected that we would have seen him in qualifying on Saturday towards the top, especially after what we saw in free practice 1 and free practice 2. Appreciate you can't really take that necessarily as gospel, but from Carrasquedo, I think you can make an argument for it. I mean, a 1:35.779 was the fastest time that we saw through the course of free practice over the weekend. It's certainly showing his class out there. He needs to put it into practice for race wins. That's the mission. It's on the back of Stack again now, half a second between those two. So Stack has got, once again, things to worry about. Sandwiched between his two teammates. So now look to descend downhill again. Motorpark have enjoyed a blanket podium already once this weekend, and that was race 1, where it would be Rui Hengye on top with Everett Stack currently trying to clock down P2. He's hoping to claim his first race win of the season. He's tasted success before as Everett Stack, as they raced down through towards turn 1. Still, Carrasquedo continuing to get close, but a better bout of slipstream going Stack's way, remains behind Rui Hengye. You never know, late braking, coming in towards turn 3 may provide the answer. Yeah, goes defensive. And now Stack might get the run over the crest at turn 4, should he find the angle, but yeah, managing to brush that one aside.
Yeah, but that's surely going to compromise his run to the top of the hill, and he knows it because he's going defensive over all the dirt and grime off the racing line. Carrasquedo going with them. Stack's very late on the brakes, but to the outside, that's not quite going to work. An undercut at the Toro Vip hairpin. I don't think he's quite going to have the run he needs. Drawing just a fraction of an overlap going towards turn 7. Definitely giving Rui Hengye an awful lot to think about. But then Stack's got an awful lot to think about himself, because Carrasquedo will pounce if he opens up the door ever so slightly.
And it's become a 4-car battle now as well, because Diego Della Torre is there too. Stack up the inside though now as they come up through towards the Portimao corner, downhill through the roller coaster section. Look at Carrasquedo though, just hopping all over them. Could they go 3 wide? In towards the next left-hander before Sagre. Not quite. Yeah, goes defensive, holds the place. In comes Stack though, around the outside. He can't stack his car in front here of this Type A driver who has defended masterfully on this particular lap. And Carrasquedo licking his lips at the prospect of taking P2 himself.
I can't believe they all got through that unscathed, George. That's incredible, and actually in the same order. But look at those 4 cars. Absolutely nothing between them. We're coming up to half-race distance. Stack pulls out to the outside on Rui Hengye, and Carrasquedo's going to make it 3 abreast on the outside. Stack in the middle. Oh, close your eyes. Who's going to come out on top? Just about Rui Hengye. And Jesse Carrasquedo gets a little bit of air as he skips over. Della Torre with a pounce on the inside and takes 2 in 1.
Wow.
Into turn 3. Brilliant move. Stack surely going to try and retake one of those, and yes, does get back around the outside, I think, around turn 4. Brilliant racecraft once again from these youngsters. That's giving Rui Hengye some space to breathe. Della Torre again, Dandir on the brakes. Carrasquedo bounces as well. Oh, this is brilliant.
Fantastic advert for junior single-seater in the Euroformula Open Championship. Stack still holding on to P2, but how on earth is he doing it? A little shake as he makes his way through Samson corner. Della Torre, though, take a bow. What a move. What an effort. Very nearly doing the double and making the double stick as well on the run out of turn 3 through turn 4. That was a master stroke. It has to be said, and he's back. He's not back again this time. Carrasquedo, of course, now in second though, because he's just got past Stack, and he's now into P2. So the Mexican is back again. Stack leaving it around the outside as they now look to come out of turn 13 through turn 14 at Sagre. Stack looking to return the serve, but unable to do so. But a lock-up from Carrasquedo, and that sends him wide. And now barely avoids the gravel trap.
No, he's got a puncture, George. Look, on the left rear, I think. He's got some sort of issue.
Yes, left rear.
Now, I wonder if that is a result of him running off the circuit. Oh, Stack has got problems as well. Front wing damage and puncture. Now, I didn't necessarily see a touch between the two of them, but
it must have been just as the cameras were switching.
I can only assume that these 2 incidents are related, so hopefully we'll get a replay of any close encounters and be able to piece this one together. But the long and the short of it is that's given a 1.8-second lead now to Rui Hengye.
And of course, stewards have actually come in as well on Jan Koller. He's been given a time penalty as well of 5 seconds.
Yeah, that's for track limits. It was always going to end in tears, George, wasn't it? Because they were just getting a bit too close and a bit too punchy with each other. But yeah, that was potentially the close quarter action at turn 1.
It's been the story of Carrasquedo's weekend, really. I mean, he's shown an immense level of speed.
Yeah.
But there's always something that stands in between him and taking the checkered flag in a strong position. But what this does leave us now with is Rui Higuera in a similar position he was in back in race 1. Oh, obviously 1.6 up the road from Diego Della Torre. Remember, he won by 7 seconds in our opening race of the weekend. And, built a very strong gap and essentially took it all the way to the checkered flag.
That's brought Famolaro back up into the podium placings as well for BVM Racing. So 1.3 seconds behind Diego Della Torre. 7 laps to go now, and what a shame that it's ended like that, because Everett Stack, Carrasquedo and Della Torre were putting on an almighty display and proving exactly why drivers enjoy competing in the Euroformula Open Championship. It's because the quality of the racecraft that you can do in these light, nimble chassis is just supreme. And you get given the right combination. Right, let's see what happened here. So, Carrasquedo's moved across Everett Stack going into that corner. So it wasn't earlier in the lap. It was immediately the tyre let go and the front wing broke for Everett Stack.
It was almost precisely as we had the camera change coming in to the corner, coming into turn 14. And we just caught the tail end of it where obviously the puncture had occurred with the contact there on Carrasquedo's tyre. And unfortunately then for Everett Stack, his wing was displaced and it's rubbing against the front right Pirelli compound. Which, big shame for Stack, because obviously he's yet to really hit the heights of a victory so far this weekend.
Not even been on the podium this weekend, George.
No,
so
absolutely.
Astonishing to say.
Well, certainly based on what we saw from last season, you would have expected him to build on what was, you know, a really progressive run through the course of 2025. Castillo on currently for a first rookie win of the season as well, because of course Dobransky has been pretty much the figurehead in that fact, but obviously he's got Jan Koller in front of him, who's also got a penalty. Ferrazzano also looking well placed in Feneri Autosport. Just seems to be a driver that keeps out of trouble, starts brilliantly and tends to pick them off as he makes his way through. A very methodical racing driver.
What do we got now? 6 laps to go. The lead gap come down ever so slightly, 1.5 seconds, although last time around the pace between and Della Torre was very, very even. So I don't think any major concerns there. And Lorenzo Castillo still leading the rookie drivers. And not by much, 1.4 seconds to Aaron Ferrazzano. And Castillo could be on for his first rookie victory after the penalty for Dobransky. And now that's Carrasquedo having come into the pits already for a replacement left rear tyre. It seems that there is potentially further damage to that car. That means it is not worth continuing on. Everett Stack has also been into pit lane for a front wing change and presumably a front right tyre change. That contact has been noted, of course, and so that'll be up to Ibai Sansaro's batch of stewards to determine whether any penalties need to be applied at the next race at Spa.
Soon find out. Obviously, that won't be too far. Well, time will go. The gap between us leaving Portimao and heading to Spa-Francorchamps, approximately 4 weeks away. It was on the weekend of the Spa 500. I also got a chance to speak to Christian Mansell, and obviously a driver that I met for the first time back in 2022 in the years of Oliver Goethe and Vlad Lomko as well, both contesting against him for the championship that year. And we were chatting about the Dallara chassis and just how brilliant it is for junior single-seater racing in a perfect manner, or a perfect way to get drivers ready for, you know, efforts at FIA Formula 3 and then consequently FIA Formula 2. Christian Mansell, of course, seeing both tiers of that, and he even said that for any junior driver looking to build its way to that level, that the Euroformula Open is the place to be. And obviously we get the excitement of the 2 reverse grid races as well, in this instance for the top 6, but we do get varieties inside the top 8 with the number of cars allowed. But, Christian Mansell, obviously now excelling in the realms of GT3 racing, and obviously has really risen to the occasion, of course, alongside Maxi Gertz this weekend. Has got mother Megan in his corner as well, so it's great to have him back in amongst our paddock, as now we watch the cars descend downhill. 5 laps or so to go here in this race now. Castillo is currently leading the Rookies Championship classification at the moment. The number 10 Team Motor Park car, the 17-year-old from Mexico, joins from the Euro Cup 3 Championship in Spanish F4. Spent a lot of his time karting in his own country, but in his 3rd season of single-seaters, really harnessing himself, and he's got Ferrazzano breathing down his neck as well for Neri Autosport. He himself looks to chase a rookie win. Has got some work to do, 1.3 to 1.4 away from the man in 4th place overall. Torre is putting in the work, though, I have to say. Just looking over the last lap, was a couple of tenths quicker than Rui Hengyer over the lap. Will need a bit more than that, though, if he wants to put a spoke in the wheel of this 1.1 second gap that Yer is currently looking after.
Well, he is taking bits out of Rui Hengyer. I don't think he can rest on his laurels just yet, because De La Torre's got pace.
Yeah.
Last time around did take another 0.2 of a second out of our race leader. So it's not all settled and confirmed just yet for a second victory of the season for Rui Hengyer. Diego De La Torre may still well have something up his sleeve. He's finished 3rd in race 1, 2nd in race 2. Can he go one better and take to the top step of the podium for the very first time?
Across the board, to have a blanket of podiums throughout the weekend is not a bad way to start, because that shows consistency, and that's what De La Torre is all about. As opposed to having consistent 4th places last year, it's nice to have a consistent run on the podium.
Right.
You know, so it's a nice level of progression for Diego De La Torre, and there is definitely more to come here this campaign, as long as he can build on the experience that he has put together or laid down from last year's campaign. But we'll wait and see, of course. There is the 44 of Diego De La Torre, and he is trying to edge ever closer. But if anything, the gap has gone outwards. It is 1.3 now, and in fact, it's just crossing the line. It's 1.4. It was a 1:36.987 over that last lap, approximately 3/10 between the top two in the classification added over that last lap. So Rui Hengyer once again finding his feet, upping that confidence level. It was a spectacular victory in yesterday's race 1, and in fact just saw caught Everett Stack just making his way down through towards Torre Vip. So in actuality now, our race leader about to catch up with the back marker.
That'll be Everett Stack, won't it? After his front wing change. So De La Torre, the gap did go back out again on that last lap by 0.3 of a second. So Rui Hengyer can start to relax a little bit. I think 2.5 laps to go for the Taiwanese driver. Makes his way back up towards turn 13. Last big stop on the lap. And this has been a very impressive weekend for Rui Hengyer. His first with Team Motor Park. We said he dominated proceedings yesterday with pole position and the very commanding race 1 win. Moved himself up to a podium place in the first reverse grid race this morning. And you must say a lot of the work in this race was done off the line, with both he and Stat making brilliant getaways. But Rui Hengyer muscling his way past the American earlier in the race as well, and I think just getting out of that fight in time for everyone else to start knocking 7 bells out of each other.
Yeah, it's all about patience. Obviously, I think as far as Carrasquedo is concerned, I think because he has spent so much of his time this weekend in trying to recover, you know, the same attitude was kind of on display here, but it was good, because ultimately he is, certainly from what we've seen over the course of today and indeed yesterday, he is one of the fastest drivers, if not the fastest driver in this season's grid of cars. And I definitely think that perhaps when we head to Spa-Francorchamps, that might be more suited to him. I think, when we do go to that next round. Obviously, there is plenty of variety in cornering. That is still the same here at Portimao. There is that added elevation change, but the certain areas of the track are indeed wider, especially when we do factor in the long run at the Kemmel Straights, and then aside from that, the long run through Blanchimont and the heavy braking zone, where we saw the big battle between Timothy Kaharczyk and Yevon David result in a Yevon David victory. Of course, it would be a drag race to the line, and then the subsequent drag race that decided the title would go in Timek's favour at Monza. So we watch Famularo head downhill, and for BVM looking to clinch yet another podium under his belt. A very emotional day for him after landing his first victory in the Euroformula Open Championship. After coming in late last season, he's discovered the car, and now on the final lap, looks like, though, no one could hold a candle to Rui Hengye to become the first driver this season to take multiple wins.
That will be a second victory of the season. The end of the first weekend, Rui Hengye from pole position. So I think there's only 10 points that he's missed this weekend, if you think about it, from the third place finish this morning. So that's a pretty good way to open up your 2026 season. He makes his way over the crest of the exit of turn 8, through the Craig Jones curve, the top of the hill at Portimao. And it's just a few corners away now from being a multiple race victor in the Euroformula Open Championship after a pretty stellar weekend here in the Algarve. He's kept Diego Della Torre at bay. He made the pass on Everett Stack. He made the epic start as well to go from 6th to 2nd. Might not be a massive fan of the reverse grid format, but he's certainly doing very well at it right now. Rui Hengye comes out of the final corner and takes his second victory of the weekend here in the Algarve. A dream start to 2026 with 3 podium finishes and 2 victories. Diego Della Torre will have to settle for second once again. Alessandro Famularo takes his second podium finish of the season as well. And Lorenzo Castillo comes home with his best finish in the championship and a top rookie honours as well. His first of the season ahead of Aaron Ferrazzano, Javier Herrera, and Victor Dobransky and Jan Koller in 8th position. Fantastic stuff once again from Rui Hengye. I'm sure the celebrations will be strong in Parc Ferme and in the garage tonight. But Diego Della Torre also completing a weekend of podium finishes. That's a very strong start to the season for the Mexican as well. And it's a Motor Park 1-2 with Alessandro Famularo representing BVM Racing on the rostrum as well.
Much like Lorenzo Castillo, Rui Hengye's third season in single-seater race cars. Like I said, beginning in F4 level. Now finding his feet in F3 machinery. Took part in F4 in Italian, UAE and Southeast Asia. The Type A driver, the first multi-race winner of the season. He'll be looking to carry that same form to Spa-Francorchamps as well. Big points netted in the championship, and that does put him on the front foot when we do head to Belgium in the woods and the forests of Stavelot, an iconic racetrack that harbours the Belgian Grand Prix. Take us through the results, Chris.
Second win of the weekend for Rui Hengye. 1.8 seconds clear of Diego Della Torre in the end. He completes a flurry of podiums this season. Team Motor Park 1-2 with Alessandro Famularo taking a second podium finish as well. Lorenzo Castillo takes his first rookie win, head of Aaron Ferrazzano, Javier Herrera, Jan Koller, Victor Dobransky, Divi Nandan, and Everett Stack, the last car over the line after contact, breaking his front wing. Jesse Carrasquillo did not see the checkered flag in 11th place. So Rui Hengye making his way back into Parc Ferme. Will park himself in front of the #1 board for the second time this weekend. Alessandro Famolaro also parking up into position as well. The BT Sports staff guiding everybody into the correct places. And Rui Heng will soon be greeted by Alfredo for another chat.
Hopefully the procedure will be a little bit more ironed out this time.
Yes, he knows where to go this time, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Hopefully he doesn't wander off back to the garage.
Yeah.
The scales are to your right, but... was that a snoozer for him then? But yeah, the Daps with the motor park team, Bernard Gotz, his race engineer, I'm sure will be very happy with that one, as will Bruno Benson, who also supports young Rui Heng.
Walking his way to get weighed in, immediately greeted by Famolaro, who has enjoyed a strong weekend as well for BVM, and they'll take a lot of learnings from this season. And obviously the quest for Giuseppe Mazzotti is even to have more cars in the future. The quest for 4, maybe even 5, who knows?
Take on the motor park empire.
Absolutely.
So it's a second podium finish for Alessandro Famolaro, in 3rd position for BVM Racing. Diego Della Torre, 3 podiums in 3 races for the Mexican from Team Motorpark. But for the 2nd time this weekend, it's the top step of the rostrum for Rui Heng, a dream start to his 2026 campaign.
And so, yeah, another win here at the Algarve, but this was closely fought.
Oh yes, it's quite hard here and it's a hard race. I mean, not too bad. You finished double win for the weekend, so looking forward to next.
How was the fight with the others at the top?
I mean, everyone was trying to fight for the win, so for sure it was quite competitor. And so, I mean, I tried my best to amazing move in T5. I tried to do a fake move, so at the end I did it, so it was good.
Well done then. And today you will have a proper podium ceremony.
Thank you.
A second win for Rui Heng. Let's see how he did it. Blasting off the line from 6th to 2nd. It was Everett Stack, though, who got the whole shot into the first corner from 4th on the grid, as pole sitter Alessandro Famolaro slightly struggled to get away. He did hang on to 3rd position, though, the first couple of corners. Jesse Carrasquillo stuffing his car on the inside into turn 3, trying to take that provisional podium spot and going round the outside at turn number 4. And Famolaro was just able to fend him off. Rui Heng with a big dive down the inside into the Toro VIP hairpin on Everett Stack to take the lead of the race. He did not look back from there. Meanwhile, everyone else squabbled for those podium spots, with Jesse Carrasquillo trying to get around the outside, but he ended up in the gravel and losing places as a result. Carrasquillo tried to take the place on Diego Della Torre. This one was successful, taking 3rd position at the time. And Carrasquillo then tried to take 2nd place away from Everett Stack at turn 11. But it would all come undone as he chopped across the nose of the American, giving himself a puncture, and Stack front wing damage. Rui Heng unperturbed at the front of the field, taking his 2nd victory of the weekend. 3 podiums in 3 races, and a simple victory in the end. And now to the podium. It's Alessandro Famolaro in 3rd position, the Venezuelan. A shake of the hands with Diego Della Torre, who, after missing out on the podium all season long last year, bar one event, he ends up with 3 in 1 weekend. They're like buses. And so Rui Heng to the top step of the podium once again. And they will be joined on the podium for the first time by Lorenzo Castillo as the rookie class winner, Team Motorpark representative, of course. There is Lorenzo, the Marcos Seabear supported and coached driver, and he looks very happy with that result. But here is the Chinese Taipei national anthem.
E antes de entregar os troféus, vamos ouvir o hino nacional de Taipei para honrar o vencedor Rui Enguié. E agora sim, para entregar os troféus.
Well, George, it's been a pretty mega weekend of racing, as we always expect in the Euroformula Open Championship.
Yeah, second season of the Dallara 324, definitely showing its promise after the phenomenal run of the Dallara 320. And Famolaro for the second time today standing on the podium as well. Remarkable effort. Representative from the Portimao circuit providing the second place trophy to Diego Della Torre, who has been certainly on the podium as well. Prolific podium scorer this weekend. And we'll hope to continue that consistency at Spa-Francorchamps, but it's also been a prolific weekend for this man. Rui Hengye, twice a race winner this season. Where will this go for this young man? Could it lead to the title? Who knows? The Motor Park team, though, can enjoy two of their drivers, or make it three if you include the rookie class podium as well. Three drivers, of course, standing tall here. The rookie trophy being presented to Lorenzo Castillo, the Mexican talent. Very much like Diego Della Torre, looking ahead. We'll hope to build on this for the future. So plenty to look forward to before we head to Belgium.
And that will be in 4 weeks' time, the 16th and 17th of May, for the second meeting of the season for the 2026 Euroformula Open Championship. So thank you for joining us this weekend here in the Algarve. Circus continues at Spa-Francorchamps.